Welcome! Today we are going to learn about finding the medium of a data set. Now before we can even find the medium of a data set, we first need to know the definition of medium. I have provided the definition of medium right here for you. The definition of medium is a measure of central tendency which identifies the point on the scale that separates a group of scores so that there is an equal number of scores above and below it. And in the slide before, I told you that medium was a type of a measure of central tendency. Now, for those of you who may have forgotten or maybe don't know what a measure of central tendency is, here is the definition of measure of central tendency. A measure of central tendency is a single value that attempts to describe a set of data by identifying the central position within that set of data. And other examples of measures of central tendency besides medium are mean and mode. Alright, so for the first example number 1, I want us to focus on finding the median for an odd amount of numbers in a data set. Now the first thing you need to do when you're finding the median of a data set is you need to determine if the amount of numbers is odd or even. Because if it's odd, you're going to want to take these steps, but if it's even, you're going to want to take a different set of steps that I'll explain to you later. Like for example, I want us to find the median for this following data set, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers in that data set. That is an odd amount of numbers in a data set. So that means that we can use these steps to solve it. Now the first step for us to do is we need to sort the data in order from least to greatest. So as you see, I've done that here. I've ordered it from least to greatest. And after we've done that, then we need to find the number that is in the middle of the data set. In other words, the number in the middle of the data set is going to be the number with an equal amount of numbers above it and below it. And as you see right here, this number 25, it has 2 numbers above it and 2 numbers below it. So that's how we know automatically that this is the median. Now most likely you're not going to have to find the median for a smaller data set like the last example I gave you where there were only 5 items in the data set total. You're probably going to be given large data sets to find the median for. And now the steps I gave you, they work just great and they are great steps to use. But if you've got a large data set and you want a faster way to find the median, here is an alternate way to find the median for an odd amount of numbers in a data set. So remember, this only works for an odd amount of numbers in a data set. Now first things first is you're going to want to figure out how many items you have in your data set total. Once you do that, you're going to divide that number by 2. Simple as that. For example, if you had 51 numbers in your data set total, then you would divide 51 by 2, and that should give you 25.5. Now just ignore the decimal point, so we're going to ignore 0.5, pretend it doesn't exist, and then that's going to let us know that there should be 25 numbers above and 25 numbers below the median. And so that will help you and be a lot quicker. You can count 25 numbers and know the next one right there is going to be your median. So there's a faster way to find the median for an odd amount of numbers in a data set. Now before, I just taught you how to find the median for an odd amount of numbers in a data set. So now that we've learned that, now I want to teach you how to find the median for an even amount of numbers in a data set. So first things first, just like I talked about in the last example, we need to determine how many numbers there are in the data set. Is there an odd amount of numbers in the data set, or is there an even amount of numbers in the data set? For example, in this data set, for this example I have, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers total in the data set. Now 4 is an even number, so that means we can use all of these steps to help us find the median for this data set. Now the first step is we need to place the data in order from least to greatest. So as you see, I've done that right here. Now step 2, we need to find the 2 numbers in the middle of the data set. In other words, what 2 numbers have an equal amount of numbers above it and below it. For example, as you look here, 76 and 88 would be the two numbers in the middle, because there's one above those two numbers and there's one below those two numbers. Now, we can't have two mediums, right? So what do we have to do? We have to find the average of those two middle numbers. So first things first, we add those two numbers together, and that gives us 164. Then after we've done that, we've got to divide the sum of the two middle numbers by 2 to get the average of those two numbers. So 164 divided by 2 is 82. So that means the median is 82. Alright, and just as I said before, more realistically, you're probably not going to get a small amount of items in a data set like the last example I gave you where I only had 4 numbers in the data set total. You're probably going to get a larger data set. And so if you do, here is an alternate way to find the median for an even amount of numbers in a data set that will save you so much time. And now remember, this only works for finding the median for an even amount of numbers in a data set. If you want a faster way to find the median for an odd amount of numbers in a data set, then go back in the video when I explained it there. Now, first things first is you're going to need to figure out how many items you have total in the data set. So make sure you count how many numbers there are. Okay, and once you've done that, and if the number is even, then you can move on, and you'll divide that number of items by 2, and then you subtract that by 1, and then that's it. That will tell you how many number of items should be above and below the two numbers in the middle. That will speed up your process of finding the median for an even amount of numbers in a data set. For an example, for a better visual, say you had 90 items in your data set total. So like I said before, what you do is you divide that number by 2, so that would give us 45. Then after that, we're going to take away 1 from 45, and that is going to give us 44, and that's it. There you go. So there should be 44 items above the middle two numbers and 44 items below the middle two numbers. And just remember, once you find those middle two numbers, that's not it. You need to make sure you find the average of those two middle numbers, making sure you're adding those two middle numbers together and then dividing the sum of those two middle numbers by 2. And then you'll have your median, and there you go. I hope you learned a lot from this video, and I hope you'll be able to find the median as you work along these data sets. Thank you for watching.